What up? Welcome back to the Classics at Home, the cinematic movie podcast that takes you back to the iconic films of 20 years ago on the Big Three: iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I'm the guy, Jay Alonso. With me, of course, is
Danger Neff. What's up? I love the fact that we're covering this movie because I have a lot of joy when it comes to spoof movies. For those who haven't figured it out from that one line by itself, I'm really, really, really stoked because this is a movie I could quote by day. Like it's so stupid, but it's so good at the same time.
This movie I didn't even need to rewatch. I know it top to bottom, left to right. I've seen the movie so many times, so this could be easy to cover, no problem. But before we get to that, how was your week, good sir? How was the holiday weekend?
It was good. We, Gwen and I, my sister and I, we recorded Top Gun.
Yep.
Sorry you couldn't make it. And we had a good time doing that. The 4th, I wound up grilling, and I grilled fucking everything. I made literally secret sauce from In-N-Out. And, I was showing off Chef Neff this weekend.
All right.
Made some burgers. I grilled some shrimp. I grilled some unseasoned shish kebabs because somebody told me they were seasoned until I took a bite into it, and I was like, this really needed season. And grilled some dogs. It's good stuff, man.
All right.
They're all on some ciabatta bread. Oh yeah, no, I was pimping today.
All right. Okay, I see you, Chef Neff.
How was your 4th?
My 4th was cool. I had family in town. So I went and saw my aunt who was in town from Ohio, and then an uncle of mine who I haven't seen since I was a kid was in town with his family, so I went and saw him. And hung out with the family, man, and we also barbecued on Saturday. It was cool. It was cool. Of course, Los and Kev had the battle on Sunday, 96 versus 98 on 20 for 20. Overall, it was a relatively chill weekend.
Very cool, very cool. Movie news wise, not a lot that really covered. I want to give a really quick little shout out, rest in peace to Ennio Morricone. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this work, shame on you. You've obviously never seen a spaghetti western in your life. But he is probably best known for the following.
Yes, most people, I can't say most people, I know
That's not it.
People of our age range, so to speak, they would know his work from recently when he things he did with Tarantino for Hateful Eight and Django Unchained and all that stuff. So,
but this is probably best work right here, right? Everybody knows this.
Wow, wow, wow.
So, if you haven't seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, he basically did the entire friggin' movie. And he was very well known for spaghetti westerns for some time. So rest in peace, good sir. It was very unfortunate. Also, all right, my family in Georgia, yes, I'm very sad that Charlie Daniels passed away also. Respectively, yes, he was literally the voice of the South for some time. And without that fiddle, who knows where the state of Georgia would be right now. So rest in peace, good sir. And other than that, Chris Hemsworth had a little thing about Hulk Hogan, which was kind of dope. How he's basically saying how he's going to have to increase his physique immensely. And I like Chris. I like Hemsworth a lot, actually.
Yeah, we were just talking about it today in the group chat. I feel like Hemsworth playing Hulk Hogan. There's some strong results coming from that as well. Cause I like Hemsworth a lot, and I feel like I feel like with the right material, he can deliver some good stuff. Stuff that's not Thor. You know what I mean?
I don't think he's been in too many like things that I'm just like, oh man, I just really didn't care for Chris Hemsworth. Like maybe Black Hat, but that was just because like that movie just wasn't good. You
Right.
know, the guy had no chance of recovering that script. Even the Red Dawn movie, which yeah, it's kind of super propaganda. Like he was still pretty alright in that.
Yeah, recently he did the movie for Netflix. Uh,
Distraction.
Extraction, yeah, and I thought it was so dope. And once again, he has a great comic timing. I would assume for a Hulk Hogan biography or biopic or whatever this is going to be, you're going to have some comic timing to play Hulk Hogan. Obviously, the physique is going to he'll knock that down no problem. So
Right.
I'm pretty much I'm looking forward to see what he does. I think.
I know Los is in there for sure. He was a big wrestling fan
Oh
for
yeah, most definitely, especially Hulk Hogan. So I know, just like me,
Jackson.
Lowe probably feel the same. As far as I don't, I really have no worries about Chris Hemsworth. I feel like with the right material, he can deliver some good stuff.
I'm interested to see like who they all bring in because I mean with Hogan you kind of have to find. So I'm not sure because it's a biopic, right? So is it a biopic based upon like a part of his life? Is it specifically about the Hulk Hogan persona, or is it about or is it about like what Hogan wound up becoming? Because those are very vastly different things, and especially if we're talking like early WWF, like that was when he was his most popular. Like I'm talking like 85, 86, 87, even all the way to like the early 90s. Like are they going to play up the Andre the Giant, moment? Because that was a great moment for wrestling. It like
Yeah,
sold.
I'm curious to what they're gonna cover as far as Hulk's life, leading up to maybe his last couple of days with the WWE and or the controversy that surrounded it and all that stuff. So I'm curious, definitely curious. But I know with Hemsworth, I at least have that level of excitement to see what he can bring to a character like Hulk Hogan. Like that guy
I
was
mean,
part
he's
of
saying
my
he's going
life.
to get more pumped for Hogan than he does for Thor. And if he came in with just the Thor physique, I'd be pretty happy with that by itself. But like Hogan had like the barrel chest, and the big arms. I don't know. I'm fascinated on it. It has to be basically the explosion of Hulkamania and how that like covered a certain period of time. And WWF was really weird at that time. So I don't know. Pretty interesting to see. Other than that, not too much has been really said in movie news. They kind of already said what we all kind of knew was going to happen with Black Widow, which was she was basically passing the baton to the young actress that was going to be in there,
Mm-hmm.
new Black Widow.
Right.
Uh, that was mentioned, but again, I kind of feel like saying we all knew this. Like this is really nothing new on this case.
Like, this isn't really news if you think about it, but
Like thanks, but we knew this was going to happen. So I don't know. I am ready for all these. I'm ready either for the end of the world or I'm ready for life to get back to full normal. Because
oh yeah, 100%.
it
So, getting into today's movie, the first parody we've done on this show, I'm excited to talk
really
about this joint.
this is the first spoof movie you
This is
guys.
the first spoof we've covered on this show.
Oh my god, you guys did okay. I'm offended because now I know one of the movies that has to happen for Super Throwback September because the movie turns 40 years old and it's still really friggin' funny.
Airplane?
Yeah,
Mm,
that movie is still really friggin' funny with
right
every.
on.
Oh man, it hits a ground with the jive talking. I can't stop laughing at that because it's so wrong, but it was like it's so 1970s, even though it's 1980 movie. Still, I don't know, but yes, spoof movies. I'll tell you
Today's
what.
movie, we are taking it back to July of 2000 with the Keenan and Ivory Wayans brothers romp, scary movie. original release date July 7th of 2000. Shares opening weekend with But I'm a Cheerleader and The Kid. Production budget of $19 million with a box office total of $278 million.
Yeah.
Damn. With a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes. So first things first, that Rotten Tomatoes score, is that fair?
No. I'll tell you why. Because okay, so real quick, because there's something to be said on spoof movies. Like how important are spoof movies to today's culture? Probably not so much.
Not so much.
Like not anymore. But for a while there, spoof movies, and especially like people that take parody of shows and movies. Now on YouTube, you could probably find that stuff very easily. I know Dragon Ball Abridged from the Team 4-Star guys does a really great job and did a really great job with their product. But here's why I love spoof movies, because it takes all the ridiculousness that sometimes happens in movies and it all kind of combines it into one. And then they have a tendency to push boundaries. And I mean some serious boundaries that they do, all in the hope of a laugh. It's like, you ever seen the Kentucky Fried Chicken movie?
No.
Okay, the Kentucky Fried Chicken movie has a moment in the movie. This is like mid 1970s, right? It has a moment in the movie where they take a white guy who is decked out in basically in basically like Evel Knievel gear, right? You see him get in the middle of a group of black guys, right? At 1975, so keep that in mind. Put on a helmet and just scream at the top of his lungs the N-word, right? And it's just like, and then it shows him, and then he just runs off, right? To have these guys. So nowadays you see that on like Adult Swim, people like Eric Andre probably do stuff like that. Sacha Baron Cohen is known for stuff like that. But back in the day, pushing that sort of envelope was very, very, very risky. No, that joke definitely wouldn't fly today.
Oh no, and then when it comes to Scary Movie, even though this is not the first spoof ever made, but it's definitely it was fresh for that time, because prior to Scary Movie,
the Naked Gun series, it would have been prior to Scary Movie. The only series that was like a spoof movie that was still popular would have been the Naked Gun series.
Right. So when Scary Movie dropped, it just dropped like a bomb. You look who's behind the camera as far as Kenan Wayans, Marlon's in there, Sean's in there as writers. It was the introduction to Anna Faris at the time. You really got Regina Hall kind of coming out. You know what I mean? And I feel like talk about the movie today is going to be easy, because it's basically like we're rewatching Scream again. But we're watching, but the perspective of this movie, like even going into it, when the opening scene with Carmen Electra kind of playing the Drew Barrymore character, and how they play it out, it's like obvious comedy, right? Like small things like when she runs outside and it's that way, death that way. She runs towards death.
Or when she runs outside, she opens she basically runs to go outside, and she has her choice of weapons, and she has like grenade, gun, knife, hammer, banana, and she of course grabs banana.
Yeah, exactly.
It goes running outside with said banana. I couldn't stop, it's stuff like that. This movie borrows very heavily, obviously, from Scream. It also borrows very heavily from I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is definitely not more memorable than Scream. But at that time, it really stuck. It's really one of those movies that's just amazing. So let's go ahead and kick this movie off. Do you like spoof movies?
When they're done right. I can tell you this. One of the low sets of the whole thing was like when this movie came out, Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2 were so fresh, and I guess you could say original, even though it wasn't, because you're born from other movies. But as far as like taking on that spoof genre, it was fresh for its time.
Right.
It was after these two movies that I kind of just fell off. Like Scary Movie 3 through what 5, I was good on, and then the other original writers were Aaron Seltzer and Brad Friedberg, something like that. They started making bullshit. Like they started making like Meet the Spartans, and they were making
Right.
just
Date movie.
bullshit after bullshit. Yeah.
Date movie was really bad. Again, I think every spoof movies, and more particularly in the Scary Movie franchise, you can always find something funny in the Scary Movie franchise. Yes, the quality definitely drops after 2. Like afterwards, it's just like, okay, like this is probably something that should start going to like straight to DVD.
Now this is just a check.
Right. I'm going to give one last quick story before we get into the movie. So, in the year 2000, in Italy, when I lived out there, there was this is so summer of 2000. There it was at this time. It was around this time that like everybody was really out of school and like really enjoying themselves. And Jay, when I tell you that this movie packed theaters and all we did was rewatch the movie over and over again. It literally got, at least in my school or the only high school that was out there, it was the favorite movie of everybody out there because there was so much joy going there and just laughing, especially because like it also kind of helped with the environment of the situation because the environment of the situation was that we were without getting too deep into it, we were in a conflict with Kosovo at the time, and so this was at the tail end of it, and so everybody was starting to come back, and so it was a lot of rejoicing. So I have very fond memories of this movie just because of how like great it was. And keep in mind, like the Kosovo conflict was less than a drive from here to Salt Lake City from where I lived. So things were tense for a long time when I lived out there. So having this was a reprieve for us more than anything. So let's kick this movie off. 18-year-old Drew Decker, who's played by Carmen Electra, receives a very threatening phone call while at home. Hello, Cindy. Hello, Drew.
Hello, Drew.
And it's hilarious because it starts off very similar to how the original Scream was, which obviously was played by Drew Barrymore at the time. And it was like little things, like she's making popcorn, then all of a sudden you hear her like fart real quick, and he was all like, "What was that?" And she's all like, "Oops, I'm sorry, I like farted real quick." And he was like, "No, what's that popping sound?" And I'm like,
yeah, it was stuff like that it cracks me up. Like even like leave me alone, or I'm gonna call my boyfriend, and he goes,
the guy who dresses like a woman and dances.
Yeah, that dresses like a woman and cussing the guy outside just like Prince. Like, what the fuck? This is the craziest shit ever. But I love how the scene plays out because it is a direct pull from the opening scene from Scream. Even like with the popcorn that she's popping is like massively big now and shit.
Right.
It's like going back and forth on the stove and shit.
The other joke that I love from that scene is like he's all like because I want to know who I'm looking at, and she goes, "What?" And he goes, "What?" "Well, I want to see what your insides look like." And she's like, "Well, then turn to page 54," and it like pans over to him who's sitting in a lawn chair with a knife out, looking at a Playboy, looking at the centerfold. He's like, "Oh, nice." Like, or the scariest thing that she ever. Do you like scary movies? Oh yeah, like that movie Kazam.
Kazam was the best scary movie ever. Love that.
You ain't never seen Smack. This is smack dab in the middle of like his championship run too, which is what kills me about this.
Oh yeah.
So she gets chased outside by somebody who has the ghost face mask on. And in the process, we kind of said some of these jokes already, but as she's kind of running outside, she chooses death instead of life or instead of safety. She kind of does like the little runway Baywatch thing because that's what Carmen Electra is known for. And as he goes to stab her, pulls out her breast implant. The gelatin. Like, like freaked out. She winds up getting hit by the car that her parents are driving because, of course, mom's giving dad roadhead, and and she winds up dying like immediately, like afterwards, because he winds up killing her. We then pan over to the next day, and we get the introduction to the lovely Anna Faris, who is playing Cindy Campbell, who meets up with her boyfriend, Bobby, who's played by John Abrams, and her friends Brenda, who is almost quickly my That Chick Award in this movie, because I love Brenda in this, who's played by Regina Hall. Ray, who is Sean Wayans. Greg, who's played by Lachlan Monroe. And Buffy, who's played by the ever-gracious, from American Pie fame, Shannon Elizabeth. And there's various news teams that are out there headed by.
This is one of my favorite moments because in true Wayans Brothers style, it's a camera that pans over serious. And then one guy, we're putting live from Black TV. White folks, then we getting the fuck out of here. Come on, let's go, motherfucker. And just all ass out of there. It's the funniest shit ever. I love it.
What was the name of the high school?
The name of the high school was oh my God, Frederick Douglass High School?
B.A. Corpse High School.
B.A. Corpse High School. There we go. B.A. Corpse High School. You're right.
B.A. Corpse High School. There's also hack reporter Gail Hailstorm, played by Sherry O'Terry, on the coverage in the wake of Drew's murder. And I mean, this is a group of friends that are friends, but they're not friends. They're not cool with each other like that. Right. They'll hang out with each other. They're very specifically high school friends. After high school, they really should not be friends ever again. But
they don't even talk after school,
right,
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But also, I love the fact that they're all sitting around. And first of all, let's address Ray real quick by Sean Wayans. He has this underlining gay tone, but see, everybody knows he's gay except him, right? So when he goes, yo, dog, this shirt makes me gay. No. What about now?
What about now? Yeah. No, you cool.
And then even with Bobby, they said Bobby's always late to school, but he lives so close. Motherfucker has a trailer literally on the lawn at the school. One of these parts of me, I love that
part. So with all these hack reporters and the coverage on the school in the wake of Drew's murder, Gail tries to get the up on the beat of the school, who's headed by the police officers, and she decides to hook up with Buffy, who is again Shannon Elizabeth, intellectually disabled brother, Special Officer Doofy, who's played by Dave Sheridan, hoping to milk the facts out of him. And I know Doofy may actually be my That Guy Award, because I keep quoting Doofy even in normal, even in my normal life. I just there's just stuff that he does that's so stupid, but I can't help but laugh. The whole vacuum cleaner scene,
Yes.
that's really bad. Or when he's hanging out in the police station, later on in the movie, they're hey, Doofy, smell my fingers. And the guy's what's that? And they're all that's when you become a man, Doofy. He goes, hey, Greg, why don't you smell my fingers? And he's oh, what the fuck was that? What the hell was that? My
ass. And also, the funny thing with the finger thing, right? So earlier when Gail meets Doofy and tries to seduce him to get information, she puts his finger in her mouth.
Oh,
whatever's on his finger, you can clearly tell by her face what the fuck is that? Love that. That shit is so funny to me.
Because she's
yeah, okay, let's go. Come on, let's go.
So while Cindy is in class, she receives this anonymous note and realizes that Drew was murdered exactly 1 year ago after she and her friends accidentally killed a guy. And I can't stop laughing at that scene because one of the stupidest lines in the movie like comes out. They're like, "Oh my God, guys, we hit a boot," and
Where's
Greg,
the foot?
"Where's the foot?" He's like pissed off, like it's like he's so mad.
But leading up to when they kill the guy, the drive down there, like Greg is hammered. Okay, so Greg is making out with Buffy,
Right.
Ray is making out with Brenda, right? And once again, Ray in this quasi gay thing he does, he goes, Greg goes, "Yeah, I love when you play with my ass." Like, she goes, "I'm not playing with your ass." He goes, "Ray, oh my bad." Like, what the fuck, right? And then Ray hands Bobby a tape to play, and it's Raining Men,
Right.
and he's like grooving out and shit. It's the man. It's so many subtle jokes in this movie that, as you're laughing at one thing, another thing's probably like, "Oh, that scene is so funny." Like when Greg pulls off Buffy's panties and they're all like the sexy thong shit, but then Ray pulls off Brenda's panties, like big ass, like huge, like period panties and shit.
Oh man. And then what's great about, like, okay, so they killed the guy. They have the boot, and then of course they're starting to get all these ominous notes, and it's like Greg. First of all, they're at this shower scene, right? And they're at the shower scene where they have everybody kind of hanging around, and first of all, again, Marlon Wayans is ridiculously funny in this movie because he's all like, last one in the showers gets an ass slap, and he's like bringing up the towel. He's like,
Sean is right, yeah,
right. But of course, Greg looks into his locker, and he sees a picture. He pulls it out, and it's a fucking white baby dick. Like,
who did this?
Who did this? Who did? Like, he's just so mad. He's like, the water was cold, just stupid shit like that, But then Greg is then killed. So there's this beauty pageant that's like going on, and with the beauty pageant, first of all, I think the black girl's like name was just Miss Thang, and she had like dreads, and had the bows all coming down. But then they like pan out, and her pubic hair is also braided,
Dreaded up, yep.
Yeah, dreaded up, no problem. And Greg is killed by the guy, but of course, Shannon Elizabeth, who only cares about fame, at first is like, "Oh my God, Greg, no, jeez," and everybody's like, "Wow, no, she's really good at acting." And she like winds up winning the beauty contest, and
Sydney goes, "What about Greg?" Oh, fuck Greg, I just
won. That does not remind you of some girls in high school.
Hell yeah, in a heartbeat. Cindy goes home. The killer attacks her but retreats. Cindy calls the police. Bobby arrives, obviously playing off screen. Bobby has a cell phone in his pocket, but he also has
the knife.
The knife. And some other shit too.
Right.
And so Greg gets arrested. Cindy spends the night back at Buffy and Doofy's place, and this week get Doofy with the fucking vacuum cleaner and shit. "I told you don't steal. I'm cleaning my room."
He comes out with a full-on rager out of the room in tidy whities, and I'm like, and here's what kills me about it, like, because obviously we know where the movie kind of goes a little bit, but so were you sane in doing that? Were you good with yourself in doing that, or were you really trying to play that off? Because that's hella commitment, bro, to staying in character there.
"I told you don't steal. I'm cleaning my room." I love that. This is good.
Um, as Cindy spends the night at Buffy and Duke's place, she receives a mocking call from the killer. Now, the following day, Bobby is released from jail, and Buffy, who decides to continue to use her acting chops, is cornered in the gymnasium or the parking lot. It's one of those two.
I think it's like in the school's like gym bathroom or some shit.
Right, and um, and she's like in the bathroom and whatnot, and the killer, of course, shows up, and she straight up goes and makes it seem like, oh, is this where I like really start like screaming and crying right now? And at one point, she severely breaks her own leg, just to show, oh, I hope you don't mind if I fake it, as she gets her head like cut off from the whole thing. Although her severed head does continue to talk, and is eventually thrown in the trash.
Toss in the trash. She's still going to. That's the funniest part. Ray and Brenda go see Shakespeare in Love, which this is probably one of my favorite moments in the movie as well. Because I know somebody who talks through the whole fucking movie.
Before we get into that, there is still like my favorite scene with Brenda and Ray, which is, she's like they're like hanging out in the room, and it could be a cut that out scene, let me be fair, because it has no point to the story, but it's funny because he goes and he's all like, yeah, she's all like, oh, didn't you know that this is didn't you know that I got a shout out from this song, everywhere I go I see the same hope, and
it was Tupac.
Right. And then in the middle of that scene, like they're trying to get freaky one night, and Ray has her start putting on more clothes. Like it's just like he's all like, yeah, girl, like you know what? Why don't you wear my jersey like at first? And okay, fine, that's cute, right? Then she's putting on the football pads. And then she's putting on the fucking helmet. And like Ray is like so turned on at this point that she's all like freaked out with everything that's going on. It's one of my favorites. But of course, yes, they are in the movie theater. They're watching Shakespeare in Love. And Ray is stabbed in the ear of the bathroom stall. But I'm going to let you take that scene. Please do.
Okay, so they want to see Shakespeare in Love. And Brenda is just all out. Rude, obnoxious.
Pulling out fried chicken.
Pull out fried chicken in the whole shebang. Now, Ray goes to the bathroom room. Let him through. Goes to the bathroom, and the whole time Ray's in the bathroom, he's hearing some sort of some noise coming from the saw next to him. So he's peeping in, and this random dick comes out.
That's key. There's a peephole. There's
a peephole, yes. This random dick comes out and like kind of massages his ear, and he goes, "Do it again." The dick stabs him through the ear. Goes back to Brenda sitting in the theater, and she's just talking. She's getting phone calls. She's telling the movie.
Yeah, no, I'm in the movie.
Yep.
Y'all are being so rude right now.
My girlfriend said, "Don't say together in the end." Why are you telling the fucking movie? So everybody in the audience gets so pissed off, they kill her.
Right. She's not even killed by the killer. She's killed by everybody in the theater.
This is what you get for ruining Speed and Big Mama's House.
This dude in the Big Mama's House, dude, like straight up, like has like a mallet and basically like slams it over her.
But the old lady had like this long ass like, your ass is grass. That's right. I love that
part. And so Cindy throws a house party, hoping for safety in numbers, right? And during the party, Bobby and Cindy go upstairs to basically have sex. And of course, again, they're playing off the Scream thing. And if people remember the original Scream, you had the girl that tried to crawl through the door through the doggy door because she was so skinny and tried to get through. For some odd reason, they decided to do this with a really, really, really hefty set woman. and the garage door picks her up at first.
But it definitely doesn't hold.
It definitely doesn't hold her, and the whole garage door like falls on top of her.
But actually, Shorty has one of the funniest lines in that scene because Cindy tells Shorty, like, the little party at my house, don't tell anybody, I want everybody to be safe. Shorty goes, I'll keep it low. Yo, party at Cindy's house. Drunk white women for everybody.
Everywhere.
All right,
yeah. And so when they go to have sex, and this may actually be my iconic scene because this shit is so fucking funny. They go and at first like they start making out, but their tongues get tied to each other. And then he goes and he opens up the underwear and a bat flies out of it. And she's like, oh, it must have been such a long time. Pulls off the panties and a full shrub of hair just like comes out. And he straight up grabs like a weed whacker, and starts trimming this thing down to finally eventually go down on her. And he winds up when Bobby finally orgasms, his whole body like drains from the amount of blue balls that he's been having at that time.
Right.
And she's like plastered to the wall or to the ceiling really after.
Hence the term now, scary movie nuts.
Yeah.
That's now a term now.
Suddenly the killer of course appears and stabs Bobby before disappearing. Cindy gets a gun from the drawer, and Bobby obviously follows. And Shorty comes up from the basement. Bobby takes the gun from Cindy and shoots Shorty.
Oh, shit, sad.
You want to hit this shit?
He tries to like, he puffs the wound that's still smoking at the time.
There is a scene, of course, that we are missing, and it is definitely the most iconic scene in this entire movie, which is before the party happens, Shorty gets a phone call from the killer gets invited over, obviously. And this whole scene is it's so stupid because there's no point to it. And so the killer like asks if Shorty is there. And he goes, "What's up?" And it strings this like a minute and a half string of like everybody saying "What's up?" But
yeah,
just like
it's a redo of the famous what commercial was it? It's I think they're advertising Sprite or some shit, but it's an old commercial from back in the day in which the director of Drumline, Charles Stone, he's in there and he goes, "The Wi-Fi." That's literally like a whole 2 minutes of that.
Oh yeah, no, it's really, but it's so friggin' funny to have him have it. Of course, the killer eventually comes over and does a little freestyle rap that he does, and in the process of the freestyle rap, he kills everybody except for Shorty at that time. So of course, Shorty gets killed. Afterwards when he runs in and gets shot by Bobby. And come to find out, of course, that not only is I do have to cut that out, and I'll say it and might cut that out. Think about it because it's not even funny; it's just gross.
Gotcha.
So of course the big reveal happens, and Ray and Bobby are both involved into it.
They're your killers, but the reveal of that is funny as hell because even when like this now the moment where like Ray is supposed to come out to be gay, and because Bobby's come out and say he's gay, right? He goes, "That's right, Cindy, I'm gay." If you haven't noticed, so
and Ray is too. If you haven't noticed, Ray
like,
is too.
I ain't gay. He's at the club. They play good music, but we went to Italy. I want to go shopping. But you love, oh, you suck my dick. Great scene. That's a great scene.
Of course, the plan backfires when Ray decides to stab Bobby numerous times, and his reasoning was because they canceled the Wayans the Wayan show, and it was a good show, and we never even got to see. We never even got a
I
scene.
love that line. I love that line because they literally took a moment to address why did you cancel the Wayans brothers without a follow episode? You just canceled it.
Right.
And the Wayans brothers, I think the Wayans brothers ran for like 6 years.
Something like that.
Ran for a minute.
Yep. So the killer, of course, abruptly arrives and stabs Ray. He and Cindy fight, with Cindy employing the moves copied from The Matrix, of course. Because at that point it was huge. And
everybody was doing it. Everybody was doing it.
However, the killer, of course, vanishes before the police arrive. At the police station, Cindy and the sheriff, who's played by Kurt Fuller, realize that Doofy is the killer and was faking his disability, of course, because I can't. How was the reveal happen with that?
The reveal happens when they're trying to figure out who the killer actually was.
Right. And it was like it had to be somebody that everybody knew.
They take the usual suspect approach, which I thought was pretty dope. And then when it's finally like, oh shit, it's Doofy, he drops the coffee mug like the usual suspects, but it's a goldfish. I never understood that. Like, what the fuck? Realize that it's Doofy. They run outside to catch it to see if it's Doofy, and they cuts to Doofy walking the Doofy walk, but eventually like straighten up to walk regular, like usual suspects. Mm-hmm. And then it's revealed that it is Doofy, and Gail pulls up, gets the car, and takes off. Cindy runs outside with the no, boom, gets hit by a car, her damn self, and that's the movie, man. And then it cuts to Shorty in the grocery store, which it's not my iconic scene.
It's supposed to survive a horror movie, but it's really just
it's not my iconic scene. But fuck it, it's so funny because he breaks down the rules like how Jimmy Kennedy did in the movie. He goes, "Y'all wish me luck, snatch and run, y'all," and then starts they just rob the fucking convenience store. It's so funny, man. Love that shit. Well, that's a scary movie. As you guys already know, this movie does not require a whole lot of explanation. This is a movie that it's for the time, and it's still fun as hell to watch. So, takeaways. That guy at work.
I'm going to give it to Doofy. I'll tell you why. Like, Doofy is hilarious. The big reveal that he's the killer was actually a pretty decent reveal for this kind of movie. And also, I can't help but I really like his exit scene from the whole movie, because it does the Doofy walk. Then he's like walking along, and then some song, I don't even know who the band is, but they were like, it's like playing whatever. And so like, he's too cool for school. He like hops into the car, kisses the girl, shotguns a cigarette, and then they just like drive off. And I'm like, you know what? I'm down for that. Very quick, really special shout out to the Wayans brothers for this movie, because this movie is nowhere near as funny without their involvement, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I had to pick the one guy.
You felt them missing after, right, too. Yeah.
Exactly. But if I had to pick the one guy, I'm going to give it to, I'll give it to Doofy.
That chicken work.
So I'm going to give it to Brenda, because even though she does wind up becoming funnier throughout the Scary Movie franchise, especially when she's beating the shit out of the ring girl, or when the skeleton is chasing Cindy. It would have just been you if you would have just shut the fuck up.
This is Bones. Would you run for Callista Flockhart? Like, oh, Callista Flockhart joke? Oh, shit. That's great.
Oh, no. Harkeem peeing on me.
That full of work.
The little white girl. Sorry, I know I'm speaking on it. But yeah, no, Brenda. Brenda is, without a doubt, the funniest part, in my eyes, the funniest female in this movie.
That full of work.
I'm going to give it to, this is my difficult one. I'm going to give it to Bobby. There's a reason why that guy, I don't think I've ever really seen him in anything else ever again. Even though he's supposed to be like the main guy, for some odd reason, like, he was so forgettable, and not funny, not as funny as he probably should have been.
Yeah. Cut that out.
Cut that out. All right. There is a scene that involves Gale, and it involves a camera. And it's supposed to be a spoof on Blair Witch, and it's disgusting. Oh my god.
Oh, the snot scene, yeah.
Snot scene. And it's like the whole time she's like, I'm just really scared for my life right now. And all you're seeing is like boogers start to like drip out. At one point, a huge bubble like just burst. And you're just like, no! And it's just like at one point, like it just like water falls all out. It's disgusting. It's not even funny. It's gross.
Does this movie hold up?
Yes. Even 20 years later, you can still feel some of the jokes are going to be a little bit dated, but some of them still fucking get me. Like when Cindy goes outside and she's all like, "What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?" And the fucking like principal is on the roof. He's all like, "What am I waiting for? What am I waiting for?
You!"
Oh, and it's
love that part. Yeah. Iconic scene.
Iconic scene is definitely going to go to the what's up. It's because it gives the tagline for this. It even though it doesn't become a recurring joke, which I don't know if I agree with. You know, they probably could have gone recurring joke with this. It's still one of those things that like whenever you hear that line, you're only thinking about this movie at that point. You know, you're not thinking of anything else, but you're thinking about like that scene, that movie, and it's classic. You know, really, really. It's not even like, I can't even say it's annoying because it's just like it emits so much joy out of you when you think of it. So yeah, who's giving you that guy award?
That guy award is gonna go to Shorty, hands down. The reason why is because Shorty has no dog in this fight. He's just a stoner that's just there to be there. And like certain lines that he'll do be like when he's giving the interview with the press, he goes, "Did you know Drew? Oh yeah, she had a fat ass one time." And then we was kicking it, and then the roofs wore off. So I pulled my tongue out of ass and I left. Like what?
That's a good word.
I'm gonna give it to Brenda. Brenda, this is literally the come out of Regina Hall. Before that, she was in The Best Man, but it wasn't a comedy role, so she wasn't being too funny. But Brenda represented a lot of women I knew coming up that would react that way to certain situations. So definitely Brenda.
That Fool Award.
That Fool Award. I'm going to give it to Cindy's dad. Cindy's dad is campaigning for the worst father of all time. Like, of all time. Like, he's clearly some sort of a drug dealer working with Colombians or something. And he's like, you know, when the police show up at the end and, you know, Cindy rescues her dad, he goes, the killer may still be inside. And the sick son of a bitch planted drugs all over the house. All over the house.
I like at one point how he's like tied up and hogtied, and they show him that he's like in the closet and whatnot. But then they go back to him, it's like he's like knocked out, like he's just asleep. I always like that because I'm like, look, if you're kidnapped, and believe me, that is already terrifying and whatnot. At some point, you're probably just going to fall asleep and you're going to look ridiculous with a ball gag in your mouth. You know, just there like conked out and asleep. Cut that out.
Cut that out.
Well, it's got to be the snot scene, right? It's bad.
Cause the snot scene, though it's funny, cause the cameraman kills me, man. These things are so fucking funny. Mm-hmm. The snot scene can go. It's just gross for no reason.
It is. I wish it was funny. I really do, because you could spoof that in a lot of really great ways. You know, but it's so disgusting to watch that bubble just pop. Does this age well?
It does. It definitely does. And like we said earlier, it makes you realize what a shame it was after 2 when the Wayans brothers were no longer involved. It was like it lost the flair. You know, like now, like one thing, like when the one thing that the Wayans brothers brought to the table when it comes to the first two was, though it's a spoof movie, the story is still cohesive. It still makes sense, even though it really doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, at least if you're gonna spoof something, at least make the story make some sort of sense.
Right.
It's still make it funny. And Scary Movie 2, which came out literally 7 months later, I was like, I couldn't wait to go see it. Like, I couldn't wait to see Scary Movie 2. And I thought Scary Movie 2 was equally as funny as the first one, for sure.
Yeah,
It's Scary Movie 3 and on, I'm like, I can care less about this.
They did a good thing when it came to Scary Movie to the rest of the Scary Movies by introducing like classic spoof people like Leslie Nielsen, obviously. But no, you absolutely have a point. I wish that same magic of spoof movies that the Wayans brothers had with 1 and 2 would have carried over into some of their other work, to be honest. Because their other spoof movies just, man, they leave a lot to be desired. You know, so I don't know. Age well, yes, and finally, iconic scene.
Iconic scene. I'm gonna steal yours as well. Definitely the "What's Up" scene, because that was a trailer shot, and it kind of led you to believe exactly this movie's very self-aware of what it is. So therefore, you know, for example, one of the biggest examples is one, two, three, four of the main characters in the movie die. They come back in Scary Movie 2.
Right.
So it's very aware of what it is, and they know for a fact that certain things like that doesn't make any sense. But it's a parody, so who cares? Yeah, I'm gonna go with the "What's Up" part. That shit's hilarious to me.
Very cool.
All right, so quick hits. We can wrap this joint up.
Yeah.
So, quick hits. Here we go. The original script featured a cameo role for Jamie Lee Curtis as Cindy would discover her hiding in a closet in her house while the killer was chasing her up the stairs.
The role of Brenda was originally offered to Aaliyah. She turned it down.
Really? That's interesting. Jared Leto was offered to play Bobby during the early stages of casting. He eventually declined in favor of doing Requiem for a Dream, which also starred Scary Movie writer and actor Marlon Wayans.
Mm-hmm. Where is the? There was one. Okay, so most of the brand names seen in the movie have been slightly changed. For example, when the killer is telling jokes to the others, there's a character wearing a T-shirt with a toke written in a can printed on, as if to refer to Coke. Also, all the drinks seen in the fridge have been misspelled. For example, Colt instead of Colt. Colt, so C-U-L-T instead of Colt, C-O-L-T. Same when the killer is doing the "Was Up" scene, he's holding the beer called Killer in reference to Miller. I never really noticed that.
I didn't mention this earlier, but I'm glad it popped up here on Quick Hits. At around 42 minutes into the movie, the lunchroom menu at the high school reads, "Same old shit."
Yep. There was one with Damon that I really liked. Oh, in an early script, it was going to be revealed that the killer was Damon Wayans for his brothers holding out on him in this movie. But due to scheduling conflicts, it was rewritten the way it is now.
And finally, let's do... Lil' Kim was considered for the role of Brenda Meeks.
Okay. Bad.
Yeah. Well, there it is. Go out there, watch Scary Movie 2. You can leave three through the rest. Leave them shits alone. But
I think 3 you could still kind of watch just to get the point, but you can tell that it definitely drops in quality pretty greatly.
Yes.
Watch it for the Leslie Nielsen president scene, because that shit's so fucking funny when he decides to fight all the disabled people. I know that sounds so bad, but that shit was really fucking funny in that movie.
Let the people know where they can find you, brother.
You want to find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at David Danger Neff. I'm the co-host here at Back to the Classics. I've been thinking about trying to start up a little bit of the sport thing. Probably going solo on it to start out with. and I haven't fully decided yet, but I have a lot of thoughts, especially with the big news this today that was Patrick Mahomes signed the largest contract in sports history, a 10-year, $450 million contract. However, those escalators can kick it up to a $503 million fucking dollar contract.
Mm.
And I had a discussion with somebody about, and somebody was like, I don't know if he's worth it. I was like, yo, if I become MVP and then Super Bowl MVP and I bring your first Super Bowl in 50 years to you, you pay for my production, you don't pay for my potential. That's the way you look
Damn
at
right. You damn right.
it. So yeah, my guy Jay Alonso, let them know where they can find you.
All the social media is simply at I am Jay Alonso. That's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. You talk to me and I'll talk back. Of course, the Bachelor Classes Movie Talk group on Facebook is up and popping. Go ahead, jump on there and join the conversation. Huge shout out to Duval for constantly posting shit on there. Definitely appreciate you, bro. 20 for 20. I do believe I am battling this weekend. Look out for that announcement soon. And besides that, this is one of 2 episodes we're doing this week as well. So we'll be back again in a couple of days with another episode. 2 comedies this week.
Yes, 2 comedies this week.
It's a good week.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a good week. With that being said, shout out to everybody that watches. Shout out to the Center folks. Shout out to the whole Beat Network crew. With that being said, we'll see you guys in a few days. This is Back to the Classics. I am your guy, Jay Alonso. With me, of course, is
Andrew Neff.
See you in a few days.
See ya.
Peace.
Cheers.